Hey everybody, and welcome back to Grunt Reviews. Guys, today we're doing one that a lot of you have asked for, and I've been kind of excited to do this one. Today we are going to compare the IWI Tavor 7 to the MDRX by Desert Tech. This one's in 308 to match them up. Guys, as always, go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and drop a comment. It definitely helps us with the YouTube algorithms. I've got my Buy Me a Coffee link in the description if you want to support us here at the channel. And check us out over at rumble.com/gruntreviews. That's where we put the fun stuff that we can't post on YouTube. And let's get into it. And we've got the Tavor 7 here on the bottom. We've got the MDRX here on the top. Made sure both of these were in 308 to give you the best side-by-side comparison. Starting at the front, working our way back. Both are equipped with a muzzle brake on the end of the barrel, and these are both 16-inch barrels. The Desert Tech is a bit of a combo. It's a 2-chamber brake with a flash hider on the front, whereas the IWI unit is more of just a straight brake all the way through and through. It's not a multi-chamber brake, so it does have a little bit of a flash hider to it there. Not a huge difference in felt recoil between the two muzzle devices. Barrels are going to be same length. We're both looking at a 16-inch here. Handguards are where things start to change up just a little bit. So with the T7, you do get 2 M-LOK slots on either side. Of course, you get this full-length top Picatinny rail, and then you get the handguard on the bottom, and underneath this handguard hand stop, I can get my finger on it there, you do get another section of pick rail there, but the handguard is not removable from the factory, though some aftermarket options do exist for these. The MDRX does come factory with a plastic handguard, and the top Picatinny rail is actually broken into 3 sections. So the first section is the receiver itself. We have a single slot that is actually mated to the barrel unit itself, and that is for mounting their red dot sight. So that way, if you're changing calibers in this rifle, you're able to zero that red dot to the caliber to make it easier to re-zero your primary optic. Forward of that, we have a polymer handguard, and this section is all going to be polymer. What does that mean for you? Well, the nice thing about the Tavor is the rails are roughly the same size. Actually, let me flip this over. In total length, the Tavor may be just a hair longer there, but this is all one piece. So if you're mounting an optic and a magnifier, maybe a laser up front or something of that nature, everything is in alignment. It is one piece. With the Desert Tech unit, you have a much shorter section to be all on the same plane. Once you get forward of that, you are onto the polymer handguard. This handguard is removable, and you obviously have a lot more of a chance for a shift in point of impact. With this being polymer, as it heats up, you do get just a little bit of movement. Or if these tightening screws, if you will, or can't think of the term I'm looking for here, these friction screws, if you will, they sandwich in on the receiver. If these screws start to become loose, that handguard can start to move. And if you have something zeroed on the front section, you could lose your zero on that. There are several different aftermarket options for these. There's a longer version for the longer barrel, the 20-inch, or for tucking a smaller can if you want to run the shorter barrel. And then they also have the black Mantis bipod aluminum handguard as well too. And I'll put a link up above. We have done a review on that. As we work our way back, we get to the gas system. So both of these do have adjustable gas, which does make them very suppressor friendly if you like shooting something a little bit quieter. The T7 is a 3-position gas system with an off setting. So 4 total, but you essentially have a normal, you have a suppressed, you have an adverse, and then you have a completely off. So it essentially turns it into a bolt action. The Desert Tech is a 6-position. So you get adverse. As we step down, we get normal plus, normal, normal minus, suppressed, and suppressed minus. So get you a total of 6. Little bit more adjustability, but does not have a true offsetting. Very rarely do I think people will use the offsetting, but that if that is something that is important to you, it is something to consider. As we move on or work our way back here, charging handle on the MDRX, it is a folding style charging handle, and it is ambidextrous and non-reciprocating. With the Tavor, the charging handle is a single side only, but it is ambidextrous, so it can be moved to the other side. It is also non-reciprocating. But if offhand shooting or something like that matters, or you want to switch the hand that you're charging it with, the MDRX having the dual-sided charging handle does make that just a little bit easier. If that's not as big a deal to you, the T7 gives you a single side. Neither affects the operation of it. You're just getting a little bit more into the preference side of things, if you will. In terms of magazine releases, both rifles have an ambidextrous magazine release in that AR position just above the trigger there. The MDRX has it as well. The big difference between the two of them here is the MDRX actually adds a third one back here on the front of the magazine well. So not only do you get the ones forward, but you do get one in the rear. That one does make admin reloads just a little bit easier. You can reach up with that one hand and remove that magazine. Once again, some of that's going to break down to preference, but I really do like the addition of that third magazine release on the back of the mag well there. T7 obviously does not have that. Safety-wise, both of these are completely ambidextrous safeties. They are on both sides, and they're both roughly a 45-degree safety. The T7 does have a little bit more of a positive engagement in and out, much more audible. The MDRXs, they tend to be a little bit, I'm going to say, squishier. The detents aren't quite as positive as they are on the T7. So if you're doing it a little bit slower with your thumb, it can be a little bit more difficult to know that you're officially on fire. It doesn't have that audible announcement. Once again, not that big a deal, has not affected shooting in any way, but may boil down to your preference there. MDRX does give you just a little bit of grip storage there. The T7 does not. Of course, the T7 has the cutlass handguard, and then they also have the more traditional style handguard as an option as well too, that more AR setup trigger guard, if you will. Obviously that cutlass is a bit of an iconic look, but you do have a lot more opportunity for things to move around in there and engage the trigger and possibly create something like an ND. Once again, that is preference. As we work our way back, both of these do ship with a single PMAG, 120 round PMAG, and they do both accept SR25 pattern magazines. So the PMAG 25, the Lancer L7 AWMs, choose your magazine of choice. And both of them do work well with pretty much every magazine that we have tested with them. Bolt release on the rear. So actually I'll work my way forward. So the T7, and I'll highlight it because it's on this side, does have a bolt catch here on the charging handle, and also has a bolt catch here at the rear of the firearm. MDRX, exactly the same setup. We're able to, let me get a grip on this here. You are able to pull it to the rear and lock it into that slot. And when you are on an empty magazine, you do have the tab in the back that does pop up there as well, or the bolt catch just behind the magazine. Bolt catch on both of these located in essentially the same place. The T7 does give you a much larger bolt catch, and I'll swing that down. This is where it's going to sit on an empty mag. Very easy to engage with the finger. MDRX, exactly the same way. The MDRX unit is just a little bit smaller. Pros and cons to that. A lot less likely to accidentally engage that. Is very easy to get with your thumb when you are trying to engage it, but being smaller, less chance of bumping it on accident. The larger one on the T7 is definitely a little bit easier to locate and just a hair easier to engage. But neither one will affect, neither one's a huge difference. Once again, that kind of boils down to a preference thing, and that's why we do these videos. Now, where these really start to differ is going to be in the ejection system. Both firearms are completely ambidextrous. The difference here is the MDRX with its forward ejection system, even if you're shooting offhand and you're still running that left side ejection and shooting it right side ejection, shooting it left-handed, the rounds are still coming out past your face, so you don't have to get or worry about getting some lovely brass dental work done for free, if you will. And this can be switched. All you have to do is push the button and you switch the covers on either side, and you have switched the ejection on the rifle. Can be done with the back of a round. Very, very easy to do. Something else I will mention, the MDRX is a multi-caliber rifle. So this can be set up to fire 5.56, 300 blackout if they ever decide to come out with those. They have them on the website, but nobody has seen one available for order yet. 308 and 6.5 Creedmoor. The T7 is limited to just 308 7.62x5.1, but it is a side eject only. We'll also mention that Desert Tech does offer a side eject version of some of their rifles as well too. The forward eject tends to be more common though. With this side eject, the T7 can actually be changed without any tools. However, it does require disassembly of the carrier, moving the bolt, obviously moving the charging handle over to the other side. And you essentially set it up to shoot one way. Once again, if you switch sides and hand it to a right-handed shooter, with that side ejection, you do have the possibility of spent brass coming in contact with your face. So that is something to consider if you're moving in and around obstacles or doing urban type shooting, anything of that nature. If you're doing more dynamic shooting and you're not just punching paper, that is something to consider. And then on the very, very back of this, we have the butt pad. The T7 butt pad is very grippy. It's a hard plastic with a diamond-like spiky texture there. On the back of the MDRX, we have a rubber butt pad that's got a little bit more of a slope shape, and it is that, it's a little bit harder rubber, but it has that grippy rubber feel to it as well. And you do have some more of a butt pad instead of just a piece of plastic. Firing both of these weapons, recoil profile very similar between the two of them. To me personally, and your mileage may vary, the MDRX, one with the ability to dial the gas system in just a little bit more, but two, with that butt pad, this tends to have less felt recoil for me. Once again, that's just my opinion. Your mileage may vary. The trade-off is obviously rubber does break down. That hard plastic will probably hold up better to harsh chemicals if you are in a more harsh environment. These do come out of Israel. The MDRX come out of the US. The Israelis, they have been in war almost non-stop for many years. They do operate in harsh environments, and that is a little bit more what this is designed for. One last thing I will get to, and then we'll wrap this up, is sling mounting. So the T7, you have a QD mount on the back here on the right side. No, I'm sorry. We have two here. One on the top on the right side and one on the rear there. And then same thing is repeated on the other side. We have one on the rear in the center of the stock module, and we have another one on top there. And the IWI does include these sling mounts from the factory, these QD adapters, I should say. The MDRX, you get a single QD mount in the rear on either side, and that's it. If you're running a single point, obviously that is something you could work with. If you are running a 2-point sling, you would have to add either a pick rail, something like a mag pull adapter, or you'd have to add something up here to the M-LOK slots. Some of the aftermarket handguards for these do come with QD mounts, so you can upgrade to those, but from the factory they only do give you that single point on the rear. If running a 2-point sling is something that is important to you, it is a consideration, and it would be an additional purchase. Weight-wise, I'm going to grab my scale here. All right. Let me... All right, let me zero this out. And the T7, we are at 9 pounds and 6.10 ounces. The MDRX, we are at 8 pounds, and hopefully you can see that, 8 pounds, 9.3435 ounces there. So MDRX is just a hair lighter. Trigger-wise, and I'm just going to do a single test pull and then a single weight pull. The T7 is, all right, T7's a 2-stage trigger. So we've got that first stage, we start to jump up on that wall. We've got some creep and a brake. And then nice audible reset, brake again. On a single pull, I'll grab my trigger gauge here. Pop that one just a little bit quick. Only read in at 4 pounds there. Let's try that again. There we go. So 5 pounds, 2.4 ounces, which is what we also saw in our tabletop review of this. So that is pretty standard, and it is a 2-stage style trigger as we saw. The MDRX, get this bad boy up here. All right, so MDRX, we'll get a little bit of preload on it there, and pretty firm, not a ton of pre-creep. And then we hit the first part of that wall, a little bit of creep, a little bit more, and a break. Let me reset this sucker here. Very audible reset. We're back on that wall, little bit of creep and a break. And we'll grab the trigger gauge here. And that one broke at 5 pounds and 10.4 ounces. I have noticed, I've gotten to play with a few of the MDRXs. They are a little bit inconsistent. I've seen some down in the mid to upper 4s. I've seen some in that 5 range. It seems to be kind of a luck of the draw, if you will, on the trigger. These do break in though, so the more rounds you get, the more rounds you get through them, the smoother that trigger bar tends to be, and it does lighten up just a hair. Last thing, price difference between the two of these. And pricing has been a little bit crazy lately. What I'm seeing on average, the MDRX is about $300 to $400 more than a T7 when both of these are in stock. Desert Tech has been having, at the time of this video, they've been way behind on production, so these have been hard to get a hold of. IWI, they seem to do production in, I guess, runs is the best way to put it. They'll do a run of X95s. You'll see a bunch of them hit the shelves, and then those kind of dry up. They'll do a run of TS12s. They'll do a run of Galeals. They'll do a run of T7s. So these kind of come in and out of stock throughout the year, if you will. So if you are looking for the best deal, sometimes on the T7s, you just got to wait. Desert Tech, very long wait ordering direct from them, and very spotty on them coming into stock at dealers, but that is getting better. But basically the question you have to ask yourself is the MDRX worth the extra few $100s to make the jump to that platform? The cool thing about the MDRX, if you do intend to shoot multiple calibers, the fact that you can interchange the barrel kits very quickly and very easily is kind of a cool feature if that's your thing. If that's not important to you and you only want the rifle as a single caliber, both of these are great shooters. Both of these do well. Only thing that I've seen as a bit of a downside between the two of them, my personal MDRX that I have does have, or I guess the one I have all set up, I should say, did have some initial issues with magazine retention with the PMags. Has always worked well with the Lancer, so something to consider there if you've got a stack of PMag 25s. The T7 has run well with every magazine that we have put in it. Only thing I will mention is harder primers, so some of the cheap steel case ammo, some of the older Milsurp ammo with the really hard primers do have some issues with light primer striking on the T7. This seems to be somewhat well documented on the internet. Everything I've seen is anecdotal, so I can't give you official hard facts and data. But if you do have a lot of cheap Milsurp ammo, that is something to consider. All in all, I do enjoy shooting both of these. Both are a lot of fun. They both have some pros and cons, so hopefully if this is something you're looking into adding to your collection, or one of these is just, you were interested in the difference between the two of them. I hope this video answered your questions. If you have any additional questions, feel free to drop a comment down below. I'm always here to answer those for you to the best of my ability. As always, guys, I do appreciate your time watching this. Stay safe, train hard.